Welcome to the first seminar of the day, which I have titled You Got Hacked, Cybersecurity for Noobs. It's about staying safe on the internet, but let's first answer the question, who the heck am I and why am I talking to you about this stuff? If you have questions somewhere halfway through, by the way, feel free to ask. I guess there's the questions and discussion thread that I'm going to try to keep an eye on, but no guarantees. If you need to interrupt, just unmute yourself, I suppose. So why am I talking about this? Well, because it's kind of my job. I work as a security tester, and I handle security stuff all day, every day. So basically, I'm supposed to know my stuff, which is why I like talking to people about security topics and basically demystifying some of it, because there's a lot of, I don't know, impossible stuff happening in movies that is not entirely accurate. This is why I just like talking to people about what is and isn't smart. The way this presentation is structured is that I have two topics that I really want to discuss. Hello? I think I'm echoing through someone somewhere. I think sound is okay again. All right. So the way this is going to happen is I have two topics that I want to discuss with you that are going to be sort of soapboxes that I get sort of frustrated about, or I think more people should do, or sort of pet peeves. And after that, I just have the rest of the time reserved for Q&A, because it tends to happen that people have questions like, oh, I saw this thing in a movie, can that really happen? Or I heard that I should do XYZ to protect myself online. Does that actually make sense? So that is up to you to make of that Q&A what you will. Make sense so far? I can't see you guys nodding and stuff. This is so weird about online presentations. Alrighty. So first topic, before we actually start with the proper soapboxes, is when we're talking about staying safe on the internet, what is safe anyway? Like, what does that mean? Staying safe on the internet? So in the professional world, we have a thing called threat modeling that tries to answer that question. And it's about not just saying, I should use a virus scanner and then I'll be safe on the internet, or I should use a VPN and then I'll be safe on the internet, or I should put my house into a Faraday cage and then I'll be safe on the internet. It's about asking the questions, what are you trying to protect? For example, I try to protect my credit card details. From who are you trying to protect them? Like, who is going to try to steal my credit card data? Am I going to hide my wallet from my friends so they can't look at my credit card inside? Or am I going to only ever do online banking with PayPal? Or who am I trying to keep my credit card information from? What are those people going to try to do to get my credit card information? And then how am I going to stop them doing that? So those are the main questions that you should ask yourself about security in general. And most people have multiple sets of answers to these questions. Like, I'm protecting my credit card data, but I'm also trying to protect my social security number. I'm also trying to protect my laptop from getting infected with malware and being used as a Bitcoin mining device. I don't know. There are multiple sets of answers to this usually. But the things I want to cover in my two soapboxes are two really common ones on the internet, which is, one, your accounts. Like, how do you stop people from breaking into your Facebook account? And the other is, how do you protect your privacy and maybe your sensitive information like banking details or something. So, protecting accounts. Because that's the thing that happens a lot. So-and-so hacked into my Facebook account, or my ex hacked my Twitter account. And when we're talking about hacking accounts, I think that hack is a pretty generous word for what usually actually happens, which is that either the password was leaked or the password was really easy to guess. So those are things that you need to take into account. Arjen is giving an excellent example in the chat, which is password 12345, which I think is actually not the most common password. Like for years, the top most common password on the list has been, I think, just 123456. And correct horse battery staple is a good one, except that people actually use that one now instead of making up their own. So first things first, make it not easy to guess. Don't put your name. Don't put name of service 123. I see that everyone is posting lists of common passwords in the chat. That's excellent. Have a look at those. And try not to use those, because those are the first ones that if I'm trying to break into your account, I'm going to try. Second is passwords that you have already used somewhere. So every now and then it happens that a company gets hacked and their user database is stolen. And if they have not been smart about how they store passwords, then your password will also have been stolen. So those will then be available on the internet if you know where to look. And people can just see what passwords you've used in the past and use them on your current accounts. So if you have one really, really strong password, but you use it on every single website, that's also going to be a problem. So don't do that, please. If you want to know whether your password has leaked from some website, there are services like haveibeenpwned.com where you can enter your email address and then it will tell you which websites have had an account with that email address breached. And then you will know that whatever password you use on that website should be considered leaked, burned, don't use anymore, change it right now, and change it on any other website that you are using that same password on, please. So then we run into the problem that I'm sitting here telling you that you should use really difficult to guess passwords, long passwords, unique passwords for every website, and some websites you only use once or twice. So how are you going to remember that complex, unique password that you came up with? And it just becomes frankly impossible, which is why people use easy passwords that they reuse everywhere. But the actual correct answer to how to do that is password managers. So password, yay, Jonas guessed it, hey, high five, Jonas. Password managers are pieces of software that will do all the remembering of passwords for you. Basically, it's like having that notebook next to your laptop that has all your passwords written down in it, except that it then takes that list and encrypts it with one master password, which is the one that should be complex and unique and the one that you should remember in your brain. So you remember one password, which then unlocks all the other passwords. And that allows you to create really complex, unique passwords. You don't even have to come up with them yourself. Most of these have a button that says generate password, and you tell it how long the password should be, and it just comes up with a bunch of garble that is going to be your password. And then it's going to be super difficult to guess. They also come with usually browser plugins that will autofill your passwords on the websites that they are for, if that's something you're interested in. And the reason that I've listed these two, LastPass and KeePass, is because they're two kind of different ones in the sense that LastPass is cloud-based, so it puts your passwords on their servers. Once again, they're encrypted by your master password, so they don't actually have your passwords, they just have your encrypted passwords. And that allows them to synchronize across multiple devices, which is quite practical if you want to do this on your laptop, on your other laptop, and on your phone or something. And if you want to use, I'll get to the questions in a sec. I just want to finish this for a sec. If you want to use something that's more sort of low tech, then you can use KeePass, which will store your passwords in a file that you can just put on your computer or on a USB stick or wherever you want to email it to yourself, whatever you want to do. And then anywhere that you have KeePass installed, you can just open that password file and get your passwords out of it. I think there's also browser plugins for that one if you are interested. So please do this. Let's see, what do we have for questions? Cheers for LastPass, that's nice. You could have a cohort of small children with a branded t-shirt. I don't think it's less complex than remembering 1,000,000 passwords. Let's see. What about password managers integrated in an iPhone? Apple products are not really my area of expertise, but from what I know about iPhones is that they have sort of secure enclave, I believe they call it, where they store all kinds of key information that is even like hardware separated from the rest of the system, which is usually pretty all right. So judging by what I know about iPhone security, it's probably fine, unless this is a password manager I don't know about. Is Google a password manager? What do you mean exactly by is Google a password manager? Oh, you mean like Chrome remembering passwords? Yeah, those. Yeah, no, I do not recommend those things that say, do you want to store this password? In some cases, those can actually be fished out of your computer again, because basically Chrome doesn't store them in plain text, but it does store them in a way that it can sort of rediscover what it was and enter it for you. So there's malware that can make Chrome essentially do the same thing and spit out its passwords. So I wouldn't recommend using them, though it's still better. Like, I don't know. It's also if you clear your cache or something, they're just going to be gone and you're going to have to reset all of them. I wouldn't really use it. Which one of these is blockchain? I'm not going to answer that question because I know that you're trying to troll me. 1Password is another alternative that works very well. That's correct. Dashlane also works. Yeah, there are tons of password managers other than the one that are on my slide, and most of them are fine. Just do like a basic check of whether they are considered reputable password managers, and you're probably good. And I think the rest is jokes. Cool. I'm gonna give Jurgen is typing. I'm gonna give him. Yes, I'm just trying to trick you. If you check out KeePass's, because KeePass is open source, if you check out their source, you'll find out that most of the pull requests are mine, and it's my own malware. Anyway, and yes, social hacking is a good technique for getting people to screw you over. But let's not get into phishing emails right now. I'm going to move on to my next topic, otherwise I'm going to run out of time. So if you've ever watched a video on YouTube in the past 2 years, you will have seen ads for NordVPN, ExpressVPN, Dashlane, and about 20 other VPN providers. And usually the ad says something like, you want to keep your private information secure on the internet and keep hackers from obtaining all of your data, etc. And usually they try to make something fun out of the ad, the content creators, and they dramatize what it can do even further, which is a bit, this bothers me. So I just want to discuss what a VPN is and does, and what it can and cannot do, because So I stole this picture from some VPN provider website. I forgot which one. But it's a pretty decent picture explaining what happens. So with a VPN service, you install their client on your computer, and then it will connect to one of their servers and route all of your traffic through there and then to the internet. So with no VPN, your traffic goes from your laptop to your probably Wi-Fi access point to your internet service provider, and then to whatever server you're trying to connect to, like whatever website you're trying to connect to. And with a VPN, instead, you set up a connection from the VPN client to the VPN server. It does still go through your internet service provider, because the packets have to travel somewhere. But you set up an encryption layer across that so that your internet service provider cannot see what you are doing. And also, the VPN service acts as a kind of man in the middle on the connection. That means that the service that you're connecting to, like the website that you're visiting, doesn't see what your IP address is. But instead, it just sees the VPN server, which then sort of copies and pastes the info back to you. The thing that I find a bit problematic with this picture and with this explanation, even though it is true, is that the VPN layer of encryption is not the only encryption layer that tends to happen on the internet. For example, a lot of websites use HTTPS. I'm sure that you're all aware of this thing with the lock icon in your address bar. It used to be that you got no lock if it was not using TLS, and you would get this green lock if it was. And now it's even gotten to the point where the default is considered to be using TLS, and if it's not, then you get this red icon saying that your connection is not secure. What secure means in this context, by the way, because that also is a bit of a vague word, it just means encrypted. That's what they mean. So if you visit a website with HTTPS, it shares a key with you that your browser is then going to use to encrypt the traffic with. And basically, even if you're not using a VPN, people can't read. And by people, I mean people who are between you and the website that you're connecting to. So your internet service provider, or whoever manages the Wi-Fi access point, or someone who has tapped your internet cable from outside your house or whatever, still can't read what you're doing because it's encrypted. It's just, and if you send this HTTPS traffic through a VPN tunnel, then it's just going to be encrypted twice, which is, if the encryption algorithms are decent, is not actually helping. It's not worse either. It's just that one layer is plenty. And other options are, for example, end-to-end encryption, like WhatsApp uses, where it's not even so much between yourself and the server where the encryption happens, because that's what's the case with HTTPS. Like if I log into Gmail, my encryption to Google, my connection to Google is encrypted, but then Google has their key, so Google can read my emails, basically. And then whoever I send my email to is also going to use HTTPS to connect to their Gmail. And so, but in the middle, there's Google, who can read what I wrote. If you use end-to-end encryption, that's not even the case. Then all the keys are between the end users, and even the server itself doesn't know what I wrote to you on WhatsApp. Let's see how we're doing for questions. Let's see. Let's Encrypt. Yeah, Let's Encrypt is a service that offers free certificates that you can use to enable HTTPS on your website. So if you're running a website and it's not already using TLS, then use /encrypt to get a certificate. And the rest is, rainbow tables. I guess rainbow tables are more of a topic for the password topic, but let's answer it right now. Is that a rainbow table is when actually, let's start somewhere else. If you make an account on a website, you give them a username and a password, and next time you enter your password, it needs to be able to check whether it's the same one that you entered before, right? So you would think that they need to store your password somewhere. And it's a pretty bad idea to store just your password in plain text, because then if they get breached and their database gets stolen, then everyone will know what password you used. So what is considered a best practice is to throw these passwords into a hashing algorithm. And a hashing algorithm is basically just a sort of garbling, irreversible but repeatable garbling algorithm. So if I throw something into it, it's going to consistently produce the same output, but from the output you cannot reconstruct what I put into it. And that's how they then check your password. They store the hash, so the garbled output, and if I enter my password again to log in, they throw it into the same algorithm and check whether the same garble comes out. Now, rainbow tables are when you take the entire dictionary and throw every single word in it through the hashing algorithm and save all the garbled output, so that if you steal a database with garbled passwords in it, you can compare it to your database of pre-generated garble and see whether you have guessed anyone's password that way. That's what a rainbow table is. They are still somewhat relevant in the sense that there are, I think, still websites out there who use only just a plain hashing algorithm to store their passwords, but it's becoming more and more of a known practice that they also use a salt, which is basically where they don't just throw your password into the garbling algorithm, they also add something of their own, like some sort of password on their end, which means that if you want to use a rainbow table, you have to know what that extra password was and do all the effort of calculating the rainbow table for it, which gets really annoying real fast. Does that answer your question? Sweet. And I hope I haven't lost too many people on that explanation. Then are all VPN services about the same? I don't know specifically how good the integrated VPN on the Opera browser is, but in general, if they are a modern VPN service using halfway decent encryption algorithms, you're probably fine. But you might want to wait for me to explain why you don't really need a VPN service that much. So I'll get to that. 5 minutes left. Oh no! Oh no! Okay, I gotta go. So, what I was explaining. So basically, you're encrypting some part of your traffic, though a lot of it is already encrypted. So a VPN helps your security if you are using insecure services on a public network. If I go to Starbucks and log into their Wi-Fi, then in principle they can see my traffic because it's going through their access point. But if the service is already using HTTPS or end-to-end encryption or something else, then they couldn't read it anyway, and doing that through VPN doesn't really help any. So it only helps if I'm sending plain text traffic through some sort of public network, which is not a lot of the time. So it's a solution for a very narrow problem in that sense, for protecting your own data. Now, it also works to let your internet service provider not know which websites you are browsing, which might be an issue if you live in a country where browsing certain websites is going to get you in a whole lot of trouble, but is not usually a problem for most of us. Or it might work if you want to hide your IP address or your location from the service that you're connecting to. So because the VPN server is the one making the connection to the website doesn't know where you're coming from, which is also known as the how to access region lock Netflix part of using a VPN. But arguably, out of these 3 points, only the first one is in a marginal situation protecting your personal data, and the other 2 are more about protecting you when you are doing things that ethically or legally might not be so neat. So it's more about protecting you when you're the baddie than it is about protecting you from the baddies, if I'm honest. It's not going to protect you from a whole bunch of other stuff that could be happening to you on the internet, which is where most of my issues with all the advertisements come in. It's not going to protect you from your data getting stolen from other websites. Like if I put my credit card data into Amazon's database, a VPN is going to stop it from being stolen in transit as I make my order, but it's not going to stop anyone from hacking into Amazon's database and stealing it from there. It's also not going to protect me from fraud or scams, like if I get a phishing email that leads me to a web page where I am tricked into entering my credit card data. VPN is not going to have my back in any way. It's not going to stop me from downloading and installing malware, and it's not going to stop people from just straight up guessing my password or stealing it from somewhere and reusing it. So in terms of how much you need a VPN to keep the baddies out, it's kind of dubious, honestly. So, TLDR, password managers, good. You should have one. VPNs, fine. They have specific uses, but they are definitely not the one thing that is going to keep hackers from hackering all of your things on the internet. So now it's time for, I guess, the Q&A part. And I'm already seeing a couple in the chat, and I've got exactly 1 minute to answer. So Jürgen says, do I use a VPN? I generally don't use a VPN. I do use a VPN when I do things that are ethically and or legally dubious on the internet, which I may or may not do. No, like, let's be honest about downloading content or whatever. Jesus, this chat is moving fast. Which you shouldn't do, and you should pay people for the content that they make. But in some cases, you can't buy it anymore, and I won't hold it against you all that much if you then choose to download it. If you want people to not find out that it was you downloading it, a VPN makes sense. In case you or your country has fines for that or something. And I don't think I've admitted to doing anything illegal. Anyway, I think I'm out of time. So if you have questions, then I guess post them in this chat at a later point in time, and I will try to get back to you with a sensible answer. Thanks all for listening to my soapbox.
Hey, everybody, losing less money with Lego.